All right, Michael, thanks for joining us for another episode of The Bias Opinion. It's really a Olympic special post day one. So I guess thanks for coming in and having a chat. And what were your standouts for the day?
My standouts, it was to get started. I guess I actually really enjoyed the racing last night. I know there was a few people saying that they didn't really like the track and they didn't like the format, but in my opinion, I thought it was awesome. I think it was a good showcase for our sport, and it had really good racing. It had lots of overtakes, a few crashes, which I know that's not good, but it was kind of crashing, trying to overtake, and I think that's what we want to see in our sport is overtake. So I think it was awesome. I loved it, but I don't know whether that was just because I'm so into it kind of thing. But no, it was awesome. The standouts, I guess there was no huge surprises on who was good last night, but it was just good confirmation to see who's in good shape and who will be in contention for a medal today after that huge break with COVID. I think for the woman, I think Elise kind of she was there. She wasn't probably as dominant as we thought, but I guess she'll turn it up tomorrow. And Say looked good in the third moto. Took her a little bit to get going, but she looked really good in the third moto.
Did you pick up on what it was that sort of held her up in the second moto? Like she was out in front and then finished in the fourth. Did you see what it was that sort of slowed her up?
Yeah, and it was a little bit the same in the third moto as well. I think in the first one as well, down the third straight. But it's just that third straight. It's all about your speed retention. So there's no pedaling down that third straight. You pedal a lot into it, and then as soon as you hit that first jump, it's basically just keeping your speed, not making any mistakes, not jumping too high, too low. And I think she just cased one, but she didn't keep her speed that well, and then that continued round the last corner, down the last straight, and like you said, she went from first to fourth in the matter of a straight, I think. And it was a little bit the same in the last race. I think Zoe Classens might have got her on the finish line. I might be right. I can't remember.
No, she did win that last one. It was pretty close.
Okay.
So we've got times here
So
actually if you want to have a look.
I get the times.
Yeah. So yeah, she won that last moto 44.69, and Zoe Claessens was 44.711. So there wasn't much in it. What's that? 2/100ths?
Yeah, I think maybe she was struggling a little bit with that third straight. It did look very windy yesterday. I don't know if you've seen the flags and
Yeah.
the stuff on the stands, but it did look very windy. So yeah, the woman was kind of as expected. There was no huge surprises. I think Bethany Shriver we knew she was going to be good, but I think she was a little bit better than we thought, especially around the track. She is really good around the track. I thought, Rebecca Petch did actually really, really good to come back from that first round crash, which is quite a big crash. I spoke to her and she said she might have done her AC joint. And to come back and sort of race how she did, I think she beat Judy Bauer, who's world number 4. So
yeah,
it's pretty good.
So in that crash, it just looked like her back wheel skipped out going around the corner. Was she cutting it too low?
Yeah, I mean, a few people have asked me what I think. I think her pedal might have hit the corner and her front wheel jumped. But yeah, I mean, we only got to see 1 or 2 replays of that, and I guess we won't know. She would know better than us. But it looked like her pedal clipped the corner and it just lifted her front wheel, and then she sort of got high side and then tank slapped. But I'm glad she's okay because it was a big fall, a really big fall.
She seems pretty tough to come back from something like that at that speed.
Yeah, typical Kiwi, tough as nails. But that was a bit of an upsetting moto with Saya Hitakayama, the local Japanese girl. She obviously went out in that first round. Looked like she hurt her shoulder as well. So no, Rebecca did really well to sort of get up, regroup herself, and finish off strong.
Do you know if Twan was actually using his geared bike? I couldn't work it out.
He was using his geared bike. I'm not sure if he was using his gear. I would say he was. If he was still on his geared bike, I'd say he was using his gear. It's too much of a small adjustment to know if he actually changed or not. He looked good. It was good to see Neek back as well after his crash.
I did see Twan looked a bit sketchy down the second straight. It could have been in his third moto.
Yeah.
It looked like he went to boost that last jump into the corner and looked like he was about to come up a bit short. So he was really pushing it to try and get it over.
Yeah, it's typical Tuan, I guess. He's always on the limit and he's pushing those boundaries all the time. But yeah, I mean, when you watch Tuan race and when you watch him practice, he does have a few sketchy moments, but typically he's in control. It was quite impressive in the second moto to see him boost that triple. I think he was in second. No, he was actually in first from Nick. But it was cool to see sort of in a race situation, and it looked good. I guess for the men, the favourites, the standouts, like we were talking about for the women, was again, it kind of no surprises were in the men either. I was probably a little bit surprised of how fast Graf was, especially compared to Connor Fields. Like he had a tough moto. I think their moto was the fastest. You said.
Yeah. So out of the 4 heats, that was definitely the fastest. So that was Fields, Graf, Ramirez, Campo, Giacomo, and Anthony Dean. So yeah, very hot heat. It's a final and any other weekend, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I think all 5 of those guys could make a final. So yeah, it was a tough heat, and I guess between Campo and Anthony, the way it went, it sort of came down to the last race who could beat who, and Campo just stood up when he needed to, I guess.
So yeah, Anthony's crash was unfortunate. It looked like he really hurt himself. You know, at top speed, just slapping his body. Or actually, it looked like he dabbed his foot first, and his body just against that hard surface. But I read later on that he actually did hurt himself. So it explains why he was a bit timid in the next 2 motos. Showed some power and showed the reason why he was selected as the Aussie representative. But it's just a shame he couldn't push it to the next level.
Yeah, I guess he's a very powerful rider, and that's Anthony. Like he's never going to sort of change who he is. Like it's such a big strength, and he's not going to lose that. But I guess what I was saying on the last show is he hasn't raced since Australia, which is a long time. I think he raced a little bit in Australia with.
He did
Was
a
it Jack
national
Davis?
series race, I think, here in Shepparton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's not the same caliber, and it looked like, to be honest, that crash was a little bit of a wrong place, wrong time. Yeah, I don't want to say it was a sort of race experience, but he didn't need to be there. He was kind of on the white line on the second straight in the first moto, trying to overtake Connor, where Connor did do a bit of a sketchy jump himself and whip into Dean. But yeah, it was a bit unfortunate, but those things happen in BMX.
I did notice that oh God, I've gone blank. Connor Fields was riding a lot more aggressively than he normally does. It's not often you would see him, you know, really pushed hard into corners. I think he normally gives himself a lot more space, and you could see he's actually making a fair bit of contact. I don't know if, you know, it's just the way he's going to ride these Olympics, but he's definitely pushing a lot harder than I've seen him push in a long time.
Yeah, definitely. I think he took up David in the last corner in the second race. I can't remember between the first, second, and third, but one of the races he took David up in the last corner, which showed he's out to get those lap times quick as they decide your lane pick for tonight's semis. So no, it was really good. And the other races, I think Dorday was really impressive. He just sort of went out and dominated every single race. I can't remember who was getting second in his moto. I think it was Joris Harmsen.
Let me have a
The
quick look
Dutchie.
here. Joris. Yeah, it was Harmsen.
Yeah, and he was riding really, really good, actually. He was riding out of his skin, which is good to see. It's his last ever race. I think the World's is. So he's another one who's retiring. Forgot that last show.
There's quite a few, really, isn't there?
Yeah, but I thought Josh today was riding really, really good. So it's good to confirm. We spoke about he hasn't had a lot of race experience. He still was one of my favourites to medal, and it's good to see he is coming out firing, and I think he will be a favourite to medal. Along with Sylvain Andre, I think Sylvain was in the same race as Romain Mayu and there was another. You've got the list there, haven't you?
I've got the list here. Had Kai White, Mayu,
Yeah.
Corbin Sherrar.
Yeah, so that was quite a heavy. And Sylvain kind of he didn't win every one. I think Corbin might have won the last one, but Sylvain was looking very strong with his first straights as well, and saying that Corbin, he had a nice first race, not so good second race, and it was all on the line for the third race. Whoever won out of him and Yoshi was into the semi, and man, he pulled it out, whole-shouldered, and then led the whole lap, which was cool to see. I think if Corbin could manage to pinch a medal, it would make the whole BMX world happy.
Yeah, he's always been there, always in the finals and everything. He just needs to, just push it into the top 3, really, doesn't he?
Yeah, I guess he lacks a little bit of aggression, but he's one of those riders that could hold shot and win if he wanted. So let's hope he keeps that up.
So I got a couple of things here that I wrote down as notes, just looking over all of the stats after the racing, and it's interesting to see who the most consistent riders were. Joris obviously with the men, but with the females, it was actually Bethany Shriver that was most consistent of all of them. And you got some pretty big stars up there. You got Elise Post, who looks unbeatable. Although I think you've got other predictions as to who will take that win. But and Mariana Pajan, and I mean, while they're consistent, they're not as consistently fast as times as what Bethany's posting. And we talked quickly about Saya and her slow start to the day. It was really probably quite nerve-wracking third moto for her. I I don't know what it would be like to be an Olympian or even just to race a supercross style race, but to put it all on the line in that one moto and there's so much going on, I think she was very lucky there were only 6 riders in the heat, because it just would have been worse, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I can't. I haven't been an Olympian either, so I can't comment on the pressure. But there's a lot of things going on with Sayer, obviously, with what's happened to Kai. It was his birthday yesterday. There's a lot of pressure on Sayer, but to deliver in that third moto was good to see. She had a really good gait on her. She could get out strong, and yeah, she took the whole shot, and then it was kind of, when you're in front, it's a lot easier than when you're at the back fighting for it. So it was good to see, and I think she might be able to release a little bit of pressure off her shoulders now and attack the semis and the finals. And she's got a really, really strong first straight. So I think anything can happen now that she's through the quarterfinals and into the pointy end of the competition.
She does have a very tough semi-final heat. Did you have a look at the names in that one?
Yeah, I did. But I think the way Saya rides, she's capable of whole shotting whoever's in her semi. So if she can ride like she did in that third moto, it doesn't really matter who's next to her or who's in her race. She's capable of whole shotting and winning. So yeah, I think she's one of those riders where it's all in her. It's all up to her.
Did you notice that every Dutch rider, all 6 of them, actually made it through to the semis too?
Yeah, I did actually. They were riding very strong. I think the Smolder sisters weren't a standout like they normally are, but they were just sort of flying under the radar, doing well. I think Laura might have got 3 seconds. Again, it was so hard to watch everyone. I was kind of watching the bubble spot in 4th and 5th, but I think Laura was second to Felicia in a few races.
No, she got a 2nd and 2 firsts.
Okay, so she must have got Felicia or held her off. I can't remember. But yeah, she was kind of just doing her thing as she does out the front, but nothing sort of crazy, I guess. But I mean, Felicia's no slouch to be holding off. So I guess Laura's in good shape, and I think her sister Meryl, she was in the mix as well. I think she did pump the third straight a few times. She got caught up or cut off, but she's into the next round. So that's all that matters. It doesn't really matter how you do it.
Is there anything you think people should look out for in the semis?
I guess with this 3 moto format, it's going to take away the sudden death aspect. So you can afford to have a little bit of a slow start on that first race. Anything to look out for? I think this first corner here is really, really good for our racing. There's lots of people taking low lines, keeping their speed and still getting down that second straight, which is making the racing a lot better, I think. But no, you just got to. It's not a typical BMX race where the person in first or the person in second is going to stay in second the whole lap. There's so much overtaking, so much lead changing, which is really exciting. So I guess just watching down that second straight and down that third straight of who can keep their speed and sort of who can hold their position, because it's never over at this track. It's a long one and it's really technical, which is good.
So how much longer is it than a normal Supercross track?
I'm not sure on the dimensions, but like I said on the last show, there's no fall on this track, so that makes it a little bit slower. And then I think the girls' lap times were 44 seconds. So
yeah, it's about right.
Typically, I can't tell you what their time would be at Manchester or something, but it's going to be mid-30s, I'd say. So 10 seconds, which is quite a long time. I'm not sure on the details about the men. Obviously, I haven't had to sort of prepare for it, so I don't know the little details like that. But it is a fair bit longer, and I think you see the riders after their laps really struggling to get a breath.
Oh yeah.
Whether it's humidity or it's the length, but yeah, a bit of both.
So
I think
last
one of
time
the ups. Oh, sorry,
go ahead.
you go.
I was going to say, last time I checked the weather in Tokyo, there's no rain tomorrow. Very similar weather to today, so it's going to be even hotter and harder after a day's racing already under their belt.
Yeah, that's good. I think they're used to doing 7 races a day, the top guys per day, Saturday and then Sunday. So 3 races yesterday, and then hopefully 4 for some of them today. It shouldn't be a problem. But one person I did forget to mention was Simon Marquardt, who the Swiss boy. He ended up going out in the quarters. It was a tough moto, but it was just a little bit, I guess, unfortunate with the last race. He crashed in the first corner. But it shows how tight the racing is.
So crashed in the first corner, finished 6th, and was on equal points with Vincent Paliwide, who actually went through. So yeah, very unfortunate for him.
Yeah, Vincent had to beat him by 2 places or something, which in a 6-man quarter isn't easy.
Yeah, especially with the people out in front.
Yeah,
Joris and Harmsen.
So yeah, that was a little bit of a shock, to be honest with you. I thought Simon, like a lot of people, had him down as a favourite to medal because of his form in Verona, and then training with Nick every day at Aigle in Switzerland. So I think that was a bit of a shock. But yeah, a few of those UCI riders are out already. Yoshitaku, he's also out. Simon, and then unfortunately the Japanese girl had a crash as well. So
yep.
Yeah.
All right, I don't think I've got anything else here that I wanted to discuss, but that first semi for the women is stacked. I mean, you can look at the names, but this one is really stacked. It's got Saya, Zoe Claessens, who you've got as a pick for a top 3 finish. Elise Willoughby, Mariana Parjan, Felicia Stansel. Did you notice Felicia's getting some big airtime on that first 2 straights?
Yeah.
Rebecca Petch as well, hopefully she heals up quickly or is able to hold it together for tomorrow. Meryl Smulders, and then Drew, how do you pronounce her name? Mikkelsen?
Yeah, Mikkelsen. Geez, that is when you read them out, that's really tough.
That's just a semi, yeah.
Yeah, and I guess that's when I think it's the lap times off the last quarterfinal that decides those semis, and I guess with a few mixed results, that's what happens.
Actually, that's what I was going to ask you. Like, it's not the old UCI transfer system where the top 4 from the first heat meet the top 4 from the second heat, is it? It is based on times.
Yeah, so it's decided off your third quarter lap time. That decides your lane pick. I'm not too sure on how you decide the semis, on who goes in which semi. I'm not too familiar with that, to be honest, but I'd say it's with points. But someone like Saya, who's actually qualified with 11 points or something, that probably puts her in typically, someone who was the 3rd or 4th fastest in the semi, but she's actually one of the fastest. So it sort of mixes with the snake system or whatever it is, and gives you a hard one like that.
Well, it gives her first gate pick for that heat we just read out as well. So, I mean, that's a bit of an advantage. It's good that she started to find form towards the end of the day.
Yeah, that'll be because of her lap time in the last race, I guess. But yeah, like I've said to you before, there's no sort of, it's never going to be an easy semi, and you've just got to sort of bank on 4 other people not having their best race and you capitalising on that. So for whoever's in that race, they have a chance, and that's kind of the cool thing about our sport. You can look at it and worry about it being a really hard race, but someone's got to make it, and it can be you if you want.
Yeah. That's about all I've got to add. Have you got anything else you want to discuss?
No, I guess just for the men, we didn't really talk on I guess we did about who's the favourites, but yeah, there's a few people they were backing, obviously. Well, good to talk about who they were backing, and then sort of who's sort of shining through now. And I think the favourites at this stage sort of Graf, Dorday, Connor, Sylvan Andre. I think they're the ones that have sort of shined through the most. And Neek and Twan as well. They've kind of been doing their thing in their moto together, but it'll be interesting to see how Neek's starts are, because typically he's got a, well, I mean slow, it's not slow, but a slow 1, 2, 3 pedals at the start, and you see him typically picking lane 8. But at Tokyo, I think it's going to be quite hard to get across from lane 8 to the inside, because the first corner's so open. So it'll be interesting to see how Neek does. We know he's injured, so it's going to be some good racing, especially with Twan, how strong he's looking at the start.
It almost looked like Sylvain was just having a bit of fun with it today, so it'll be interesting to see him really open up tomorrow in the semi.
Yeah, I think that Sylvain, he'll always have fun with it. He'll be waving at the camera and
blowing kisses.
Yeah, I've seen him on his phone as they're calling out his name with his headphones in at the top of the start gate. Well, that's how relaxed he is, and that's what makes him so dangerous. He's so comfortable in that situation. So it's going to be some really good racing, and I can't wait to see who shines through.
So you're not going to change your predictions from the other day?
No, I was actually, when I was watching, I was like, oh well, like my predictions have kind of been pretty good so far. I mean, we're only through the quarterfinals, and the finals are going to be more upsets. There was some upsets last night. There's going to be some more upsets in the semis and in the final tonight. But no, I was pretty happy with my predictions on who's on form, who's not. Yeah, I think I'll stick with them. I think Elise's, she'll pull through.
Yeah. All right, that's it. Well, do you want to catch up again tomorrow after the finals?
Yep, sounds good.
All right, let's do that. All right, thanks everyone for watching, and we'll catch you soon.
See you later.